Okay, here we're going to take a look at some of these models, some of these props I should say. All of these are just different props that were picked up so that we can use for our different productions and so on. As you can see, some of these represent real weapons, and some represent, like, sci-fi based weapons and so on. And what we usually do is we'll use the real weapons, realistic I should say, the replicas and so on. We'll use this so that we can obviously keep things safe on the set. We'll use toys instead of real guns, but as you can see, it has the nozzle right here that will let you know that it's a toy. What I wanted to do here today is basically go over some of these different things and tell what we do with these different things, these different props, as far as for our different videos and such. Action films do require gunplay. Gunplay requires gun props. Okay, and let's start with this one. Well, let's start over here. This one's more of a realistic looking weapon. It has the orange tip. So this one, if we were to use it, we'd have to modify it, mainly paint it, and so on. We paint the tip, and also some things that we do is a lot of times we'll check the weight of it and add weights to it if needed, so it has more impact when the actors are holding it, when they're doing things with it. It's a very subtle thing to to make it look real, a little more real on screen, because when the actor's holding it and it has weight, they would tend to handle it a little bit differently. The same with cameras. If you're using a lightweight camera versus a heavy shoulder model camera, the result on how you handle that camera will be different. Next one it's got a little more weight to it. I can feel it myself. The nozzle is actually orange, just like the others, but I just basically painted it and make it look like the real deal. Get BBs here. And another thing about these, before they're used, before we would let them go, from this process. Okay, basically what happens is we bring in new items, and then we take a look at them. Are they good? Are they bad? Are they even usable? Do we throw them away, in a salvage bin? Beyond that, we'll say, okay, if they are going to be usable, used as is on the set, like this one might be. It's a complete gun. And to be used on the set, we're going to have to disable it. So we'll have to somehow go inside and disable it so that it can't do the function it was designed for. And this one, as I know, works sometimes it don't. Let's see what happens. So there you go. Nothing. But at times you will get a discharge, and for that reason, before it goes out on the set, it has to be somewhat disabled. This one is just a ray gun, if you want to call it, something futuristic, as you can tell. It almost looks like it has some of the paintball influence, but there's nothing there. That's just a molded piece of plastic for design, I guess. This can be used and modified quite a bit, because we don't want anything that looks exactly like it does at this stage. And it has little, I'm not sure if you can see that light. Let's see. So it has, when you pull the trigger, it has an even longer sound pattern and a light display, which is something that we don't need. It makes it unique to the design and everything of this toy. So what we'll do is probably tear it apart. We'll use the frame of this item and maybe reconfigure it, put something on it, some other attachments and so on, to make it into a individual prop, and it has its own look. But right now it doesn't. It looks like this. It was designed like this, which is what we usually don't do. We'll take it and modify it, unless it's once again a traditional, like a replica or a realistic representation of a weapon. Then we'll keep it as is and just paint it. Sometimes even throw dirt on it and do some things to it to make it look even more realistic. And this one has, and most of them, if not all of them, have interactive parts. But so yeah. Okay, and everyone's used to these. We have a lot of these around, and this one has one of the darts in it. And as I mentioned, if you wanted something that was more sci-fi, we use something like this. But but they can still be a safety hazard as well. You know, if there's something on a set that they have, see, like for instance, you're going to be able to shoot projectiles and so on, and that can be an issue. So you even have to take care and be careful when dealing with you know, what appears to be or what are toys, but yet they still are functional. You know, anytime they're functional and they're going to be around other people who aren't totally familiar with them, they don't know the history of them, then you got to be careful, because you know, that's where accidents happen. You got to have processes in place, procedures in place, and so on, so you can you know, take care of what you need to do when making projects without anybody getting hurt. Okay, and this one is obviously a toy. It's 4 barrels up front, but once again, it could be used for either a prop or something totally different, or a configuration of something, you know, some kind of a hybrid project. Like for instance, if we had a helmet that needed some kind of attachment to it, or some kind of a weird design, we could cut this thing up, you could section it up a little bit, and use that as needed. It could be a you know, a vessel of some kind. So you got to use your imagination. A lot of things can be done with this. It's almost like when a fisherman goes fishing. They get a collection of fish, and they process those fish, and they sell them. All theirs would look the same. They would get, you know, like 1 million of these or whatever number, you know, all the same. But ours is a collection of different items. And what we end up with, you know, we can, like I say, we take them apart. We'll sometimes use some of the electronics out of them, and so on, and just do different things with them. And we could take the, I guess I should say, the bounty that we get when we do things like this is pretty good, because they could either be used for a different project, they could be thrown back in the bin, you know, where you can pick from later on to make individual, you know, items and so on, or it can be used as is. And the last one I'd like to show you is one of the units. Now, I've always liked these because you can do so much with them. I mean, it can be used as is, it can be used as is as another weapon, or it can be torn apart. I could see landscapes, and we'll show some of those things later on as we create projects. And start doing that as we create projects that would need something like this. But this one right now will probably be kept in its own state and used, because it still has the functionality of everything. I don't have the darts for it. Well, I do have the darts, but I don't have the, how should I say, any way to load it, the magazine. I think there's a magazine that goes here. But it's not needed. Once again, this is stuff from Filmwave's, these are items from Filmwave's parts department. Everything that we do with our, you know, props and different things, so that when we make movies, we can use all of these to do things with and come up with our own individual look. That's the idea. We don't really want to use anything as is, unless it's, once again, a traditional item that's already there. We need something that is traditional. But some of these other items we probably would not use as is. We're going to modify them in some way, and modify them heavily. Whether it's modify them to be another weapon, modify them to be another prop, or just some kind of an attachment on something totally different. One more I did not show. This one is a water gun. This is a generic water gun you might get from the store. And it has a certain look. You know, it's so not bad. I mean, one thing I would do is, it's not going to be transparent. I'd do a paint job on it and get rid of that right away. And the design and different things too would be a little bit different. So that would make it unique. So we have to have unique items. We don't want items that appear everywhere else, unless they're traditional. This is a thing of BBs. You know, you gotta have those. You got the darts where you can check things, make sure they work. Pretty much all of them do work. Don't want to get too loud or whatever, but you know, they do. So I just wanted to show you all these, and we'll talk to you later.